Hey. So.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
So Jim Bob is like, there's so much that, I get overwhelmed and I just oscillate. But he's got like a 6-minute video here where he finds the fatal flaw in materialism. Now, philosophers for about 1,000 years have been trying to find the fatal flaw in materialism, and Jim Bob found it in 6 minutes. I mean,
isn't that amazing how that works?
That's amazing how that works. And so I said, what happens when stupid gets loose on the internet? And the definition of stupid is this. Okay, there are people that are ignorant, of a lot of science and facts and philosophy and whatever. But when you add ignorance to arrogance, you end up with stupid. That's when you're out there with your chin leading, sticking out, shooting your mouth off and going after everybody. And those atheists. And
Carolyn.
Oh my goodness, sister decides to call now. Anyway, they get the label stupid, and that's what this guy is. And he is. It's amazing. He's over there right now, attacking some women, 2 women, and he's attacking them based on their looks, on how their voices sound, on their set. And, they're into witchcraft or some woo-woo, and we would attack that sort of thing too. And if we do, I would hope we would be a little less misogynistic than this guy is being.
I mean, I try not to attack the person, always attack the argument, It's, with a guy like him, it's kind of hard because it's like he wants you to do that,
Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
Yeah, his followers are really just more of the same.
Yeah, and he's shilling for money so he can go and debate on some platform, and he's asking his YouTube people, and I guess that's okay. I mean, if you want to make money on the internet, that's fine. But yeah, he's a rapey incel. Yeah, listening to his chat, the side chat, he's got like 300 to 400 people watching right now, and they're just going off, just making comments about these women over and over again. And there's just something wrong with it. And then at one point he says that she should have a husband so he could, basically keep her from doing this stuff. Or something on that order. I forget what the exact quote was, but it was along those lines. And I'm like, you fucking asshole. Just when he's read a little bit, right? And he's not a dumb person. Okay, so he's read enough philosophy to be dangerous. And it's just that he hasn't read enough to understand how little he knows.
Or is it philosophy that he's just kind of heard on YouTube?
It could be
filtered by other apologists and haters.
It's a religious based thing too. They like to feed that the man is in charge and God is a man.
Ignorance is curable. Arrogant ignorance is not. Michael Bell. So yeah,
very profound. Very true.
Not a problem.
Good to see you, Michael.
Yep. Let me see if I got things lined up here. My sound may not work, right, Scott? That's what usually happens to us.
All hail Bigfoot.
Who we got? There he is. Jim Bob. So here's his arguments against atheism. Okay, and I could probably Well, I should summarize. Okay.
I've got the short version of the argument analyzed if you want to just play that.
Like premise one, effects of physics are neither more true or false than other effects of physics. Premise two, thoughts, evaluations, and propositions are effects of physics. Conclusion, evaluations and propositions are not more true or false than other evaluations or propositions. So he's basically saying that because, I mean, if materialism is true, then logic is impossible, roughly. So you've got a video on that?
I think he just put it in the private chat for you.
Yeah, in private chat. I got to mute for like a while though, so I'll
You
be
do?
on mute,
Should I
but I'm
play
still
it?
here.
How long
Yeah,
is
you play the video. Yeah, it'll tell the video.
Oh, no. A second here. I have to go to Opera. I have to use Opera now because Google Chrome no longer works with my sound system. I have no idea why. One of the latest updates screwed up.
Deconverted man here.
Okay. Whoops. What happened there?
Unknown caller.
Stop it. Stop it. I have no idea why.
You're so popular.
I know. Why is that showing up? This is nuts. OBS. Okay, hang on a second. What is going on? Oh, I know what's going on.
Okay. So just the argument, nothing else. This is Bob's argument in full as it was presented in the video link. The effects of physics are either more true or false than other effects of physics. Premise, okay, that was premise one. Premise two, thoughts, evaluations, I can't. And propositions, what happened here? Are effects of physics. And evaluations, effects, spelling, what happened? And proposition effects are not more true or false than other evaluations effects and propositions effects. So there are many informal fallacies in this argumentation. There's a storm going on, and each one is different than and so that is a
Category error.
Oh, man. I'm gonna have equivocation. Yeah, category error as well. Fallacy. What fallacy is it? That's a good question. I love doing things like this. There we go. My brain decided to turn on again. So that's a problem. And this seems to conflate and confuse the two things together. Potential to red herrings, maybe some sweeping generalization going on here, and then treating physics and thoughts are as the same as a category or potentially because they're not comparable of truth or falsity. So apples and oranges. However, the argument is that this is the argument that the materialist is making or would have to make, even though this argument, as far as I know, has not been made by any materialist that I.
Okay, we're gonna make them go watch their video if they want to see the rest of it.
Anyway, so the main point is law of non-contradiction negates the whole thing. So that's it.
Yeah, it's a category error.
Yeah,
somewhere in there in his video that he has sort of the fallacy of composition.
Yeah,
basically, if you reduce something, if you reduce it down to its bare ontological basis, right, and then you have some property of that, and you say, oh well, this ontological basis has this property, so obviously this whole thing has to have this property, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's like saying, okay, if you have a pail, right? A pail is made out of atoms, and we know that atoms are mostly empty space. So then the pail is made out of mostly empty space. So how can you carry water in the pail?
Yeah, or it's like, you know, what does yellow smell like? You know, it's like, you know, it's just, you know, P1 was just incoherent.
Anybody who's owned a cat knows the answer to that question.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah. Well, if you have synesthesia, maybe you would know, but yeah. But yeah, it's just, but that doesn't matter. The law of non-contradiction. If you have a paradox as an argument, it automatically can't work because of the contradiction law. And it's like, if I made an argument, it's like, okay, premise 1, if this argument has any logical fallacies, logic doesn't work. Premise 2, lobsters. Conclusion, logic doesn't work. Well, yeah, there was fallacies in there, but that doesn't mean logic doesn't work. So it's just, you can't negate.
All right, hang on. Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Let's see. Want to watch the video?
Yeah. Do
You may have heard from your atheist friends. We're like biological machines, and all of our actions and thoughts and everything are all just.
Pause it.
Right there.
That didn't take long.
Complained about this already.
I really, I wanted to reach through the video when you were showing this, Dan, because the only person I've really ever heard say and insist on this, the idea of humans are biological machines, is Otangelo Grasso.
You're right. Yeah.
And of course, we were talking about him earlier, LPP, logical, plausible, probable, or whatever the word order is. But yeah, they're the only ones who talk about it like that, because science is advancing beyond the idea of the mechanistic view of organisms and life. And so anyway, so that's not even true. His premises suck and his statements suck, you know, like this. So
yeah,
I know he's putting it into the mouth of a supposed atheist or materialist, but yeah, he's just batting zero right now.
Yeah, look at the.
By the way, he drew this himself. If anyone's
yeah, he's got
wondering.
Beavis here, or Butthead. I can't remember which one. So clutching the origin of species. You know, like, oh, that's our Bible. You know, that's the only thing we know. And he's constantly going off on strawmanning atheism. And anyway, Dr. Daniel Nicholson, who we had on the channel a while back, wrote a number of papers about why we are not machines and cells are not machines. And so, no, we don't agree with that bullshit. So,
and even Robert Sapolsky, I think, in that lecture series that we watched, I think talked about that as well, that it's not.
There is no modern biologist or evolutionary biologist or molecular biologist that will tell you that the body is a machine. What they will tell you is that is a good way to think about it and teach it. It's an analogy that has its uses when you're teaching students, but beyond that, you don't want to take it seriously.
Creationists don't understand analogies. They just they think it's literal when they say these things.
Yeah, he does have a problem with macroevolution apparently, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no, he's that much
micro or macro, whichever one it is. I always switch it to. I'm like, yeah, if you have one, you have the other. What are you talking about?
I want to take a poll. Notice the wall back there in this picture. The obviously implying that we all are fanboys of certain individuals in the community. Everybody, put a 1 in the side chat. Type a 1 in there. Come on, move that finger and participate. If you have a poster of Sam Harris in your room or in an important room of your house,
or Richard Dawkins or Dillahunty, because also, okay, Sam Harris, I kind of like Sam Harris, but the other two, I'm really having my doubts about them.
You know, if I could see what's on the screen clearly, I could tell you what hentais those are. I mean, what anime? I mean, what?
I'm not sure.
My
The
Little
laptop is suspicious there.
Yeah, the My Little Ponies and
Oh, is that
the
porn?
lube with the used tissue and
Yeah, the lotion bottles there.
yeah.
Oh my god. Oh,
It's
and he got
definitely
that
supposed to
poster.
be hentai. I mean, come on.
Not today, Jesus. You see that poster on the right with the ram on?
Yeah.
I've never seen that meme.
Does the clock have any meaning that it's, I don't know.
I probably shouldn't ask that question.
Oh, wait, no, it does. Look, the clock is wrong. L 7 4 5 6 7 6
Oh, yeah.
1. Yeah. Oh man.
Maybe I shouldn't have asked such a personal question.
Nude photo.
Yeah, I just want to apologize, everybody.
No, it's you run body talking body fell off. You got plastered. You bought him one. Oh yeah, I remember that. He told me all about it.
I don't know what Andrew's doing. I think he's out of school now. So, yeah.
He said he was looking for work. Maybe he found it.
Yeah, maybe he found it. Okay, we got Demon Orb. We've got Missing Mod. We got Tsunami. Most of those guys are on your channel. Where the hell are my people? What the hell? Yes, Loose.
Got a lot of people stopping by. Good to see everybody.
Lucifer Almighty here. Dillahunty's on my dartboard because he's so bad at debating. From Lucifer Almighty. Yeah, your guys are crowding out my chat, so I can't even see my guys. I want to see my guys. Man, I don't like your guys no more. You got a Brian Starsong, Brian Stevens. You must have.
Glober Mom's there. Good to see you.
Yeah, okay.
Blaster Master.
We haven't gotten very far in the video. We never
By
did.
laws of physics and chemistry. I mean, this is basically common knowledge now. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a fatal argument against this position.
Yeah.
And I do mean fatal.
Right. So, like, he's the one. I mean, of all the philosophers in the last 1,000 years, he's the one that's going to do it, right? The arrogance.
Multiple arguments against common atheist positions. I'm Jim Bob, and I'm here to deliver the goods. First, I should clarify. Not everyone who is an atheist believes that matter exists and only matter exists, nor does every...
What the fuck does that mean?
Well, right there, he's always straw manning, though, that's saying atheist, this and that, adding things to it. And then right here, he's just saying,
Trying to be a little bit.
don't add things to it. It's like, make up your mind.
every atheist necessarily defend hard determinism. However, these are common positions taken by atheists.
Okay. So not all do it, but he's saying that most of us do it. Like, I don't know.
Well, atheism is just like the position that holds like there's no belief in a God. Like, what are you even talking about? Well, yes, and many of you come to that position based on the assumption that physicality is all there is. So let's examine.
Yeah, do we though? Like me, for instance, with my history, I never was a believer, and I just haven't come to believe in God. So I haven't had to come to it from any position. I just never came to it, right? So I mean, I didn't start somewhere other than when I was born, like when I was a zygote. That I became an atheist when I was a zygote. And when I was a zygote, did I assume physicalism in order to become an atheist? No.
I blame Aesop's Fables because I read Aesop's Fables, and it's like I just kind of, okay, books are telling stories to teach you something, and so does the Bible. It's not literal.
And I think most atheists that are that used to be Christians came to it because all of a sudden, one thing after another in their mind, they disappeared. The justification for believing in it just left them, and they started asking questions. I don't know, Scott, you could speak to that. You start asking questions, and it's like, okay, that one has no basis. That one has no basis. That one has no basis. And pretty soon there's nothing left, and you fall into atheism.
Yeah, for me, obviously as a believer, I did believe in, we'll just call it spiritualism, that things outside of our physical universe existed. But as you just said, things just started to eat away at that, and I just for everything, every situation in life, you don't need a supernatural entity to intervene. Physics, chemistry, economics, sociology, psychology were all very useful in explaining the things that affect people's everyday lives. And you just got to where there was really no more need for a God, no more room for God, and I just felt like I was holding myself back in life by even trying to maintain the God belief. So I set it aside, and as a result, I became. I guess I would have called myself a naturalist or a materialist early on, but I landed on the idea of physicalism, kind of fitting me and what I think about things better. And so I didn't start out that way. I kind of came to the idea that all this God stuff is nonsense and not needed, and it's a relic of bygone eras where we just didn't have the means to figure out better things for ourselves.
Yeah,
it's outdated, and a lot of moderate believers accept that. Even a lot of things with the church and everything accept that some of these things aren't literal, and science shows that the universe wasn't created in a week or whatever, things like that. But it doesn't mean that they lose their faith. They just see it as, okay, we have to look it through a lens of their time versus our time. And obviously they didn't know very much about the natural world thousands of years ago.
So Dave, when you were on his channel, he made a big thing of you don't just, your atheism is also based on a web of beliefs, a web of prior beliefs, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's true. Everything that we think today, what we believe in and how we operate, how we walk around a room is based on a web of prior beliefs, right? And the problem with me and with atheists is that nothing in that web of beliefs says that there has to be some kind of man god in the sky that has plans and he's up there thinking and conniving and scheming and creating universes. Nothing in our experience tells us that. So if we have nothing in that web of belief, then we are left empty when somebody asks us, do you believe in a God? And they mean the Christian God. Do you believe in the Christian God, an agent somewhere in the etherverse, right? Who is up there planning, thinking, willing, has intention, has a plan for us. He's got a whole fucking thing planned out. He's going to fry some people and some other people, whatever. I mean, that I have no basis for in anything that I've learned up to this point. I'm fucking 73 years old. You think I would have run into something supernatural, right? I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, that my bar is not set high.
Yeah, no.
People often say, what would it take to prove God? And it's like, you don't have to prove God. And anything supernatural would open my mind to the possibility of other supernatural claims, because I put all supernatural claims as equal in their validity, because you can shift the goalpost on any of them, That's like, why don't we find Bigfoot bodies? Well, they get beamed up, or they're cannibalistic, or you can always move the goalpost back. And
the invisible lobster that can't be detected in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
and opposed to the dragon, whatever.
And with precepts like this, I mean, he's Jim Bob's kind of a nice, I don't know, nicer the word. Version of a Darth Dawkins. It's all based on presupping.
Yeah, Site 10 Burger Gate.
Site 10, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, precept is the
Matt Slick.
Matt Slick isn't a presupper, but he sure is. Well, I don't know. Actually, I don't know, because I remember when I talked to him, he was like, I've got empirical evidence repeatable as a valid sound argument. He's like, I'm like, what else? If I don't have those, what do I do?
Well,
He's
the thing
like,
with Matt is he always promises to tell you when you have dinner with him sometime.
yeah, and he's like,
So it's a secret.
I came up with a definition of supernatural that is pretty simple, actually. So as we develop this web of knowledge that we have is based on the consistency of the physical universe around us, right? And we can trust things. When we step on the floor pushes back and holds us up, right? So we have this, the consistency, the laws of physics are consistent. So anything that would violate that consistency, okay, would be roughly supernatural. But now there are some holes in that, because there are some things that we don't understand about the cosmos, that might fall into that definition of supernatural. But I would ask you to widen your mind a little bit and consider what I'm saying here, that if I walk out in my yard and there is a pink rhinoceros with a purple polka dot sweater on talking to me about Jesus, that would be a clear violation of the consistency of the physical universe, don't you think? Especially if you were floating on a bubble. So, I mean, that is supernatural. I mean, it's basically the other way of looking at it is stories and fairy tales that humans make up in their heads would be supernatural, like ghosts and Bigfoot.
You see, Mike, I totally would believe you could see one of those rhinoceros things like that and it not be supernatural, because I know about certain substances that you like to take.
Well, yeah, I have actually seen this out in my yard, but I knew fucking well it was a hallucination. So there you go.
As long as you know.
Oh yeah, I think Peter Atkins answered that question that way. What if, God spoke to you or spelled something out in the stars or something, and he said I would probably get some help because I would think I was losing my mind. Right. So, and then they'll say, well, see, nothing will prove it to you. And it's like, well, no, because that's just, I could be having a hallucination. Now, what about, is the whole neighborhood standing outside pointing? Right?
Yeah, it was on Channel 5 News.
Yeah, and then you're looking, and there it goes. The phone goes off, the news goes off, everybody's going off. Everybody around the world standing around pointing at the sky. That's a different thing.
Right. So, the president comes on and he addresses the nation and he talks about it and explain. It's like, this thing, yeah. Then that is the web of belief that makes us believe in things. Mm-hmm. There are some things that have a much lower bar, like. Scott, you're going to love this. My red kitty qualia cup here, which I can pick up. Okay, I know it's there. I believe in it. I believe in my red kitty qualia cup.
Not the red cup.
The red kitty qualia cup. You got to say the whole word. Red kitty qualia cup.
Oh, that's a tongue twister.
Well, I've been doing it for 20 years, I think, almost.
I'll flub it. Deconvert man will have to make a video of it. It'll just all be bad. So
well, we got oh my God. So what happened to my camera? So we got a red kitty qualia cup. There you go. Okay.
There it is.
Got to look at the Hello Kitty part, right? Okay, it's got two sides to it. That's real, and that's pretty easy to figure out. So anyway, okay, what are we doing? Oh, should we listen to this asshole?
Examine the assumption. According to the view that we are all merely biological machines, our actions, our thoughts.
Okay, you see how they word that? Merely biological machines.
See, that's the thing. They always got to add to it. That's what I was saying about the mind-brain thing. It's like, isn't the brain amazing enough? You know what I mean? Why does it have to be something else? There's always an addition of something that I don't see as necessary.
Well, it's kind of a subtle dick measuring contest. I'm more amazed by life than you, and because he believes in Jesus or whatever.
Yeah, if you don't believe in God, that life is meaningless and there's no wonder and there's no hope and all these things, and it's like that's nonsense, and you're just adding things to what atheism is that don't belong there either. Leave it alone.
So if people are going to say something really stupid about physicalism and science, they'll always have these adjectives: merely, just, only, that basically reduces it to something that is supposed to intuitively mismatch with what we're looking at, right? Like if you say it's merely a machine, and then you look at, the majesty of life, the fucking unbelievable, I mean, how complex it is, then intuitively you're going to find a mismatch. And then that's how they convince their believers, basically. So, my goodness, my siblings are calling me like crazy. I hope. Why are they calling me? Anyway, okay, we'll play a little more. Jim Bob.
Thoughts and our words are all determined by the laws of physics and chemistry.
Yeah, okay.
Let's say it in a much more direct way. Everything we think, everything we say, everything we do are all effects determined by physics and chemistry. Okay.
Awesome. We agree. Oh, great. We could just shut this off. I didn't realize Jim Bob agreed with that.
There's Andrew. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Andrew.
Andrew's in the chat.
Good.
So it's James Apperson.
Andrew, are you wearing a McDonald's uniform?
No, don't do that.
Just wondering.
He said he wasn't going to do that. Anyway.
Look at some other effects of physics in the natural world. Let's take a tornado. This is an effect of a cause. Let's call it a combination of natural conditions.
Yeah.
This is a blade of grass growing. Another effect of a cause, also a combination of natural conditions. These are two occurrences entirely determined by the laws of physics. Now, would it make sense to say one of these occurrences are more true or more false than the other? No, they just are.
Category error.
Incoherent nonsense.
Incoherent nonsense. So he's talking about propositions, and dingle balls. The reason we have the word proposition is because it refers to something in mathematics and logic, and that's why we invented the word. Not everything is a fucking proposition. You're not a proposition. If you were, I would find you false. I mean, like, is it that hard to fucking realize? Is it that hard to understand that we have all of these language artifacts and language games that we play, and you cannot play in one language game and then jump over to physics and science and whatever and make a comparison and call a tornado true or a grass false? I mean, it's like, and that's kind of what he's relying on. But then he's sort of saying that, well, then what? Then God? What the fuck? Is it?
Are their effects. We could say that a description of one or the other could be more accurate or less accurate.
Yes, a description.
But as far as the effect goes, it is
a language game, a description. Basically, it's part of a language game, and it's part of science. We do descriptions. He can't understand that.
Is what it is. It's just an effect. It's not true or false because it's not propositional. It's an effect of physics. Make sense?
Yeah, it does. If you just left it there.
Now, here's where we have a problem. If all of our thoughts and words and actions are caused by the laws of physics, then they too are effects of physics. That means our descriptions of tornadoes or blades of grass are also just effects which are determined by the laws of physics and chemistry. Well, didn't we just establish that effects of physics are neither true or false? They just are. How can an effect of physics be anything other than what it is? What it's
okay. Anybody?
Because the brain is worthless. You got to have a mind.
Yeah.
That's what I got into it with him about. And he was saying I was making a stand, and I was like, no, I'm trying to get what is the differentiation between the two?
Yeah.
I said, if we're talking like we're all doing right now, are we using the brain or the mind or both? And all you want to do is skate around and just say, well, it's metaphysical. And it's like, well, I understand that, but is it doing anything? Or is it just something in a philosophical argument? If it's not actually doing anything, then I'm right back to, call me a materialist. It's the brain.
Yeah. So my cat is an effect of physics, right? So how can my cat be a cat? Because it's an effect of physics. How can it be anything else other than what it is?
Yeah, it's all the things coming together and doing things or whatever that that he's leaving out. You have to have well, it is just a big glob of fat between our ears, right? But you have to add in the electricity that's going on, the chemicals that are going on, and then then you have to add all that stuff in, and he's stripping it down, leaving all that out. That it's just a blob of fat between your ears. It can't do anything.
He's using greedy reductionism, okay, and reductionism is an abused tool where you can reduce things to chemistry, okay, and that means that you could write mountains of descriptions to take a leaf and describe it with just chemistry, right? But you would need a mountain probably almost stretching to the moon to describe a simple leaf to come up with that description and reduce it, right? But he's reducing it, and he's making the mistake in his reduction of saying they are identical. That have to be identical to physical laws, right?
I've been doing a bunch of John Lennox stuff lately, and he uses these types of arguments that
3D reductionism.
Yeah, that if you look at a menu, you and I know what roast chicken is because it says roast chicken.
Right.
But if you take it down to the ink and paper, it just becomes like breaking it down into like atoms or whatever. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. And it's like, well, no, it doesn't mean anything anymore. It means something when it's put on, the ink is put on the paper, and we all agree that this word means something. So they, like you said, it's reduction, but then it's purposely leaving out all the other things that you need, obviously, to make this thing work. Again, just saying, well, the brain's just a glob of fat. It can't do anything.
Yeah.
You have to have a mind, or Bernardo would say you have to have a universal consciousness, because it can't just be the brain.
Yeah, we've got Forrest said the mind is an emergent property of the brain. Best explanation I've heard in a while. Emergence carries with it a whole lot of philosophical baggage, and I don't care for it.
And what did you teach me, Mike?
Supervenience.
I learned something.
Yeah, the mind supervenes on the brain. So if there can't be any change in mental stuff unless there's a corresponding change in the underlying physical stuff. Whereas emergence is a little spooky, and it's not very well fleshed out. So I tend to stay away from it and not use it. But emergence would be like, when you have water, you have hydrogen and oxygen molecules stuck together. An emergent property would be like the swirling of the water or the wetness or whatever. And I don't care for that kind of explanation. I would say use supervenience. Supervenience very clearly tells you that there's a direct connection. Like, you couldn't possibly have a thought that wasn't that. Like, okay, if you had a thought and it changed to another thought, like you're thinking about cow, and then you think, oh, cow's grazing grass. So you had a change in your thoughts, right? There would have to be a corresponding change in your brain to support that. And that's supervenience. Not super Venus. Super Venus. No. Supervenience. I don't know. Look it up, guys. Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. Well, don't read that. No, that'll fucking kill you. That'll drive you crazy. Because Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, okay, you're looking at like 100 pages, and they'll explain an idea, and they'll say, oh, but these philosophers came along and said, no, there's a problem with that. And then these philosophers had a problem with the problem, and on and on and on.
I put a Merriam-Webster link in both the side chats.
Good.
The word supervene does a good job of basically doing a little word study of it.
Yeah, it's like basically A supervenes on B if there can be no change in B without a corresponding change in A. That sort of thing. That's kind of how you do supervenience. And it's a good way to talk about the brain. Don't let them lead you down the emergence pathway, because emergence is kind of what they believe, that there's some kind of spooky thing that pops up around it, right? And no, we could ultimately reduce everything, every feature of the mind to something physical. It's just that it would, like I say, it would take a stack of descriptions. For that one, a stack of description that reached Mars rather than the moon. So anyway, I don't think, however, that reductionism is always valid. Okay. There are examples that falsify the concept. I'd like to, yeah, I would like to hear some examples. I would like to know one or two. Basically, I think you could always reduce everything to pure physics and pure chemistry if you had the time and the energy. And of course, you need a universe-sized computer to do it for some things. But,
and this is just, Ken Ham and Frank Turek and everything stuff where we're just molecules in motion. And again, it's using that word. We're just, the brain is just, the body is just, well, isn't that amazing enough? Why do you have to add these things to it?
Maya Atkinson, no, it's not clickbait. I really think this is what happens when stupid gets loose on the internet.
Well, Jim Bob and I agreed in the chat that it's not ad hominem if you give an argument with it. So we're good to go.
He's ignorant and he's arrogant. So anyway, okay, let's have a little more Jim Bob.
It's determined to be by the law. If an evaluation or proposition is an effect of physics, how can it be wrong or right? It just is, like a blade of grass or a tornado. Now,
okay.
The laws of physics is or whatever, but again, it's the things working together that why we have thoughts and why you can be a philosophy.
Did you hear him yesterday going on about do rights exist? And he was looking for the ontological basis of rights, of human rights, that sort of thing. And like, dude, a bunch of humans got together and they declared that we have certain inalienable rights. And what they meant by that is that we're going to grant rights as a group of people. And no, you're not going to fucking find rights out in the fucking outer galaxy somewhere. You're not going to be able to take a picture of rights.
That was one of the things I said is, these things don't have, they're not somewhere, they don't have an address or a phone number or somewhere you can find them. Yeah.
It's a word that talks about a really complicated relationship, among human beings.
Because I think he asked me, where does knowledge come from? And it's like,
exactly.
It's in the brain.
Same thing.
And then he got bent because I kept saying it's in the brain. I was like, well, what do you want me to say? That's my answer, right? You cannot like the answer, but that's what I gave my answer, right?
Philosophers love to bloviate about knowledge. Like they come up with this idea about knowledge, and then they will describe it they'll rely on your intuitive idea about what knowledge is. And then they'll go on and they'll talk about justified true belief and this and that.
Well, yeah, he's more worried about telling me I don't know or I don't understand rather than explaining it.
Yeah. Knowledge is pretty simple, actually. You start to acquire knowledge from the time you're a single cell onward. You start to acquire knowledge. And what's happening is that you as an organism are fitting to reality. And as you fit to reality, you accumulate knowledge. And you know more and more and more about how reality is shaped and what are the consistencies in reality. And you can use that knowledge to predict things like, where should I put my foot if I'm walking uphill? Where should I put my foot next? That's a real simple form of knowledge.
We stand on the shoulders of giants. It's also cumulative from all the people that have, tried the berries and found out which ones are poisonous and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, and the biggest giant of knowledge is your past. Okay, when you popped out your mama, The first thing you started doing is flailing your limbs around, your hands, and you poked yourself in the eye and you got a bit of knowledge. When you did that, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. That hurts. And then you develop this fit to your body and to the universe, and that's how your brain is trained with knowledge. All of that stuff can be called knowledge. It's a very broad class of information, and philosophers like to pin it down and turn it into descriptions and propositions and whatever, and then they can never agree on the nuances, right? And they go on and on and on. If you've ever read books on epistemology, if you read books on epistemology, you need to call Anderson Windows, because you will inevitably throw the fucking book through the window.
And to have all this going on, you need the language thing, and then kind of be somewhat literate, at least with language. And then there's also that problem, like these kids that are, whatever, in bad situations. If they don't develop language early, they might never do it. So that goes back to, well, then it has to be a product of the brain, because if there was a separate mind, why can't they still, acquire language in some possible way? They can't, because the pathways haven't been laid down in a material brain.
Adding the abstract notion of spirit has no predictive capabilities or explanation of how that resolves or fixes anything. And I asked that question in text. I was like, look, what is adding the supernatural or whatever fix any of these problems that we have? I didn't get any answer to that. I asked a lot of questions he didn't answer. He answers what he feels like answering. But that's the whole stick of precept, is you've won, so it doesn't matter. And that's the argument, is I win. If you play my game, I win. Okay, well, I don't want to play that game. I played it, but it's just have fun. But
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to know informal or formal or both logic to be able to analyze properly the logical argument that's given. And a lot of people only know a handful of fallacies, which isn't the same as understanding the mechanics of the system. And I learned that I need to learn formal logic, because that's important stuff to know too. I was just so focused on informal logic. I missed out on stuff, and I'm like trying to read, trying to get into it. And
it's even tougher with the rapid fire that he throws at you too.
Well, yeah, but that's all part of the game too, because he knows enough words to be dangerous, and he's an armchair philosopher and all this. And it's weird, because we had this like almost human connection, but then he put back on the mask of angry YouTuber.
Oh, you got sensitive, didn't you?
Yeah, I was like, why are you doing this? Let's why are you doing this? Like, let's talk about this. Like, why can't we just have a normal conversation? Like, what, he's like, oh, you're being my therapist now. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I mean, like, what? It just was this mask that he put on.
Thanks for stopping by, Missing Mod. Talk to you later.
Yeah, I couldn't do chat. I was doing 2 chats and trying to listen to you guys. I was like, I can't do it anymore. I'm in here now. But yeah, I mean, it's just a bizarre conversation in full. And what is the mask that he's wearing, and when he takes that off, and then when he puts it back on, is all like, is it a defensive mechanism? Is it part of the show? I don't, there's no way to know. I have no idea, but I recognize the mask, because I've done acting. I know what that is. And I had a song about called "Who Do You Think You Are" on Deconverted Band, the first album. That talks about you're wearing this mask to try to pretend you're somebody you're not, and I know what that is, because I've done that. I figured that out when I was a kid, so not that that's special or anything, but
He says the show is just entertainment.
Yeah, right. And I love how he justified that clickbait wasn't a lie.
Yeah.
And, all these justifications for things. It's just so odd. But I said, look, a tornado it's true if it's really there, and if it's not there, then it's false. But
Yes.
you're adding true false to something that we would never use those words for normally, and so that's why P1 is just incoherent. But again, it really doesn't matter because when you resolve the entire argument, it comes to a paradoxical conclusion,
Yeah.
and it's negated by the law of contradiction.
What
And
if you took that argument and did whiteout all over that first premise, the bullshit one about more true or less false or
yeah,
than the other, and just left it alone? Would you have an actual
Matter says
yeah.
it's void.
whoa,
How would you have to make it work? I mean, what would you have to do
he
to make
started
it?
to rephrase it, but he wouldn't tell me what his rephrasing was, so I wasn't sure what it was. But even the rephrasing of it wasn't really working that he was giving me in real time, and he kind of like didn't want to rephrase it, like because it would be admitting that his argument was flawed. So I almost had him rephrasing it, but and then he gave up on it. So I don't. But as is, I don't. You can't. There's no fixing that argument. That's just you just can't. You can't fix that broken of an argument. Let me look at the premises. Let's see. Okay, thoughts, evaluations, and propositions are effects of physics. Well, kind of, but also, it was like, what do you like? Evaluation is a thought, so you're just really saying the same thing twice, and proposition is also an evaluation, so you're just saying the same thing in different ways. So you're basically all you're saying is everything is physics. That could be P2. So you reword that, and of course you don't have P1. So P1 would be everything is physics, basically. But then you have the second premise, which doesn't really, which wouldn't go because the conclusion doesn't follow from that. Evaluations. I don't know why putting in parentheses effects every time adds anything of substance to the argument. Evaluations and propositions are not more true or false than other evaluations. Well, that's simply wrong. The evaluations are either true or false. So the conclusion doesn't work. So you have to get rid of that. So all you have is everything is physics. That's P1. You don't have anything else. So that's the whole. You don't have any other argument. You don't have any argument yet. So, but yeah, that fixed the problems. But then, of course, to say everything is physics, well, you'd have to know about everything. And well, I think we could only fairly say what we know about. So all we know of appears to be effects of physics or something like that. We could get into the, well, what's the law of logic? Well, that's a description of what we think reality is. It's not really a law like the laws of physics or gravity, where those things affect other stuff. The law of identity doesn't do anything. It's just is a description of how we're pretty sure that that's how reality is without a universe. Like, we think that would still be in place, and we could be wrong. Who knows? I don't think we are, but these are axioms. They're not, we call them non-physical. I don't know. I wish there was a better word or term for it, but that doesn't mean that they're supernatural. That doesn't mean that they're not materialistic in some way, shape, or form. They're more properly just kind of a description of the universe. Without a mind to conceive them, the law would still be there, but nobody would be there to know about the law. So, it's just reality is real. Okay, that's at least a statement we could all say, because it has to be real. And you go, wait, what laws does reality have? Well, probably no paradox allowed. That's probably the first one. And because if you have paradox, well, then there's no then chaos. But as soon as you have a rule, then you never have nothing, because you always have some property
baseline of how reality must be to work. So that's what the laws of logic are, and so they're descriptive of the true nature of reality as far as we know. And so even God, if it existed, would be subject to those laws. God can't be not God. God can't be anything. God is either God or it's not God. It follows all the laws of logic. It would have to. So, and that would include the law of contradiction as well. So God cannot lift a rock so heavy it can't lift, because that's a paradox. You can't do paradox. So, and then I think they springboard off of the non-physicalness of laws of logic or objects of the mind, like one and A. And they say, well, look, that stuff's not physical, therefore other stuff could not be physical as well. I'm like, well, and I said to Jim Bob, I said, yeah, but I mean, if God is like the laws of logic, then it certainly doesn't have a mind, and I'm fine with that. Okay, fine. It's like if it's just an abstract idea, which I think it is, that and it might be useful or it might be dangerous or it might be both, but it's not. It's no more real than Jar Jar Binks. It's something we invented as a convenience. And it might be useful in some way, shape, or form, if you iron out what you mean by that word. But then again, so many other words exist that you might not even need that word. So.
Yeah, you're not going to find the laws of physics either if you take a telescope out and look.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of observations of we roll the ball down the ramp and change the ramp, and we do it again and again, and other people do it, and we write all that down, compare notes, and then we figured out how that works.
That's what I was going to ask you, is if we weren't around would these things exist, but you basically basically said that if nobody was here, they aren't existing somewhere. But if another species arose that was smart enough, they could discover that these things
right 1 + 1
best describe the universe, right?
1 + 1 is always going to be 2, even if there's nobody around to say that is the case. But when you have no one to say the numbers don't exist. You don't have a plus, you don't have, but the facts of reality and how it works still work, because obviously they did before humans were around and before there was an Earth. We had whatever the universe was doing for all those millions of years before we came.
But there wasn't a brain.
Yeah, no, as far as we know.
Even though supposedly there was a mind, it didn't do any good. So it's just supernatural add-on. So what does it do?
The mindless brain is a really weird one, because you have arguments that attempt to get to God by the Kalam, for example, that says, look, everything, there's a cause and effect. I'm like, look, we only observe minds and brains. That's it. We've never observed a mind without a brain. It's not like computers. Maybe they're getting close to that. I don't know. Like at some point, maybe, but that's still a thing. It's not a brain, but it's still a thing. It's still based on some physical property. So we've never observed a mind without a physical thing. If we did, that'd be, I used to think, like, as
John, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. As a Christian, I thought, well, maybe like the whole universe, like all the planets and stars are molecules that are part of God's brain or something. That at least would be based on something. But then you would be able to see energy going from one place to the other, shooting like neurons do. You'd have something that you could examine to test, or to see if that was true. And we're told, well, God isn't a physical thing. Well, what does that mean? Well, you're now referencing what, laws of logic or objects of the mind? What are you talking about when you say it's not physical? Because the only things I know of are these descriptions. So is God just a description? Well, no, because it needs a mind, because it needs to do stuff. Okay, well, how does that work? Where's God located? Well, God's not located in space-time. Oh, great, it's nowhere and no when. Okay, now what? Or the supernatural is anything that the natural world isn't. Well, the natural world is real, so the supernatural isn't real. It's like, they're not telling us anything about the stuff. So, it doesn't get us anywhere. Because the holy books don't tell them that stuff, because those people couldn't figure out any of that. So it'd be all pure speculation, anyways. But at least it'd be something. I'm sure a smart enough person could come up with a holy book that explained how God functions, but it would need a place to be. It would need a way to operate. It would need to be made out of something. It would just be different than what we are. Fine. Maybe it's always been. Okay, fine. You still need evidence for it, all that. And to just try to justify it with various arguments. The problem with an argument is, if it's not an abstract argument, you have to check in with reality to find out what the fallacies are. So what's the method to check with reality? Well, the best method we know is science. So you've got science and logic. Maybe logic is a subset of science, and that's it. So you really just have science. Well, that's scientism. No. Well, I don't know about that. I think that philosophers just don't like that science is better than philosophy. Philosophy is thinking about stuff, things. What is Kant more wrong or right than Aristotle? What system do you use to determine that? Well, there isn't one in philosophy, other than maybe logic. So, then you have rules to follow. So you have to have something. You have to have a system to decide who's right or wrong, and in what way and what degree or whatever. Plato was wrong about the forms. It's just nonsense. Aristotle got some things wrong, but at least he gave us laws of logic, so I like him for that. But
this Neoplatonism, that's
there's of course there's non-classical logic, and I did a video a long time ago where I tried to explain I guess I didn't say that I was not against the law of identity in that video, because I got a lot of comments that thought I was against it. I was like, no, I'm just explaining it. So the law of identity was challenged. I forget what the book was called now, but it was like A doesn't equal A, or something like that was the name of the book. And so the idea was an interesting kind of word game like we're experiencing here, where, well, the A that you wrote just now and the A that you wrote after that, well, they're different in time, and they're not on the same spot on the paper, so they're not identical. And it's like, well, okay, so that doesn't really equal itself. Okay, but that's not what it means. It's abstract. But it's like you get into this, like, well, you can't have something in the same place at the same time. And that would be the only way to have A be A. And it's like, no. So, and it goes on from there with stuff like that. It challenges the law of identity. Maybe it has. All right, go ahead, play me.
No, I clicked it accidentally.
Yeah. But at any rate,
I wanted to look at premise one again.
Yeah, so basically we could rephrase this to, and I did this when I talked to him. I said, or in my longer video of this, where I said, we could replace true or false with real or not real, because that's, to me, true and false are synonymous with real and not real. I mean, guys, I don't know if you agree with that idea or not.
Yeah, I kind of do.
Okay, so so let's say effects of physics are neither more real or not real than other effects of physics. That doesn't make sense. So there you go. That's the problem right there. But he does that deliberately. True or false is put there deliberately so that he can equivocate it later and mix it in with this, that nothing is true or false. So, but then you can't, like I said, you can't make an argument that negates logic. That's what this does.
Okay, if you said the effects of physics do not have a color. Okay?
Yeah.
They do not have a color. And P2, leaves and objects have a color. Therefore, the objects...
They're not laws of physics.
They can't be the laws of physics.
Yeah.
So it's the same kind of... He's
categorical errors. Right, yeah.
Pulling a fast one. And that's why his whole fucking video is just garbage, And then his second one, what he gets into the problem of evil, and I don't give a shit about that because I'm a Buddhist and I kind of agree that there has to be evil. And third one, I can't remember what the third one was about.
I don't know. I haven't done 3 yet. I did 2. I just did memes at him and threw stuff at him. What's the Buddha? Isn't that the Sevenfold Path, or is that something else?
Well, that's one of the things that they talk about Buddhism, but I have no idea what the Sevenfold Path.
You're a weak Buddhist.
Yeah, there is suffering, but if you achieve nirvana, it's the cessation of suffering. In other words, you let it roll off.
Well, you don't let. Basically, you are in pain, but you don't suffer the pain because you have no ego and whatever. You don't attach to the pain. But anyway, the first rule of secular Buddhism is that you don't read all that bullshit Buddhism, right?
I like that.
Doctrine is just bullshit.
That's a good. Don't read bullshit. I like that.
Don't read bullshit. That's the first rule. And if you don't read bullshit, then you won't read any Buddhist doctrine.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's
kind of funny. Yeah. Like, don't read anything that comes after this. Okay.
The best meme I like about the Buddha is it's him holding up a peace sign saying, "Don't let that shit bother you, homie."
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's it. So just
the only
if the world's burning down and you can be at peace, you're in nirvana, because it doesn't stop the things from happening or occurring to you. But yeah, you're at that point where you can just let it roll off. Hello, Stephanie.
You could attempt to rephrase it like effective.
Okay, the only piece of doctrine you need from Buddhism is the one where they say, "Shut the fuck up and chop wood." That's all you.
You could rephrase it to be something like effects of physics are not descriptive in the way that true and false would be descriptive. And I don't know. No, that doesn't work. I tried. I can't. It's impossible. Brian had a thought. I mean, I could go on for ages about that. Yeah, thoughts travel outside the brain in text. Yeah. Kind of. When you read a book, you actually, this is why we have different ideas of what any literature says, or can have different ideas, is because we put ourselves in that character, or even if it's if it's a nonfiction book, we assume certain things. We read it in our own voice, and so when I read this, I go, so actually can thoughts travel outside the brain? It's like I fix that in my brain and go, so actually thoughts can travel outside the brain, but not in a reduced form like a post. It's like, so I already changed what you say in my head, and then I give it inflections based on what I think. If you're I think you're smiling, or I think that you're jovial, or and I do all these things without meaning to when I read your words. And the same thing when you read my words. So that's why we walk away and go, well, that passage in the Bible meant this. No, that meant this. Everyone, and we do that with William Blake's Tiger. What does that mean? It means whatever you want, because that's what it is. It's a poem.
What stands out to me is where you have your note on the bottom, with or without God. So
yeah, right.
Adding God into his argument doesn't change anything.
Doesn't change anything, right? He doesn't even get to God, because this is supposed to knock down materialism, and this is the really interesting bit about that I caught. I don't remember if it was during our talk or whatever happened at this point, but that if you once you knock down materialism, well, then what does that leave you with?
Right.
No. That's not how that works.
God. Yeah.
Because let's say, you negated evolution, you negated materialism, whatever. Let's say that you did that. Fine, great. You still have all your work cut out for you, because you still have the burden of proof to prove the other thing is even a thing, So it's not like I win because I knocked this thing down. No, that's not how that works.
That woman that he's criticizing right now on his live stream while he's shilling for money to go to Miami, she could be right. Once you knock down materialism, her shit could be right?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they didn't link to the original videos. I wish.
I know, I linked to Jim Bob's original video, because I don't give a shit how scummy the channel is. If I'm talking about a video, I feel obligated to source that video. I source everything, and I wish everybody else would do the same, but they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they start picking on something. They don't let them.
I've been trying to put them in, and Troy Black challenged one of my videos, and I answered back, fair use, and he dropped it. So the little check mark went away.
Yeah, and Andrew's pretty right. You know, it's just when I read your words, they cause chemical reactions and whatever my brain does that I can read. You know,
it's all that going on that makes the brain work. It's like, not just the brain sitting there as a glob of fat.
Right.
Yeah.
If you wrote a book and it was published and put on the shelves of the library, but nobody ever read it except for you and the editor maybe, but that's it. You know, it's like, well, it still has words in it, but nobody knows, beyond you and your editor or whatever, that what it says, because nobody's read it. So is it of value? Well, it's of some value to at least to two people, if nobody else. Maybe the publisher as well. But it's like, what is that? What I don't. It's kind of like this weird thing of I'm off and on reading this book called Mine that talks about how we decide when a thing is yours, and that's fascinating. And it's like, yeah, how do we? If I drop a dollar bill and you see me do it, it's still mine. But if you see nobody around and you see a dollar bill, it's yours. So I found a 20 hanging out of an ATM like two different ATMs, and I looked around. Nobody was. It's just mine now. I could have called the bank and blah, blah, blah. No, it's mine. This is mine now. I don't care. Somebody left it. It's mine.
If a book is unread in the library, does it still have words?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like it's water wet when you're not touching it. Yeah, yes, it is, I guess. It's stuff like that where you can get really, into the weeds. But it's like, yes, it still has words. Whether or not, anyone but only one person knows about it, it doesn't change the brute fact of reality. And water we call wet, whether we're touching it or not, because that's what the word is, and that's what we decided. You can go the heap of sand paradox. You can run that either way. By the way, you can add a grain of sand, and it's like, when do you make a heap of sand instead of taking away a grain of sand to reduce the heap to nothingness? And these are fun things to play with, but ultimately, that's you got to be careful. Like people go, well, are you skeptical about skepticism? Well, yes, you can run that test. You only need to do it once, and then you're done. You don't need to keep doing it in an infinite loop. If
the most powerful argument that is kind of a bullshit argument is that if you want to cross a room, okay, you walk halfway across the room.
Oh yeah.
And then you walk halfway across the rest of the room, right? And halfway across that.
Yeah.
So you can always walk across a room, right?
Right.
That's the conclusion. And we know it's bullshit because we walk across the room all the time.
Yeah, that's why I said I brought this up with the notion of infinity being some sort of thing that can't be. I'm like, no, we break infinity all the time.
Yeah.
When you take a step, you've already crossed infinity. What are you talking about? Why couldn't time do that? Because it takes forever to get here. I'm like, no, it didn't. When I stepped over that infinite just now, it didn't take me any time. So,
did you say that you were interested in that you wanted to learn formal logic, or that you already...
I've got a few books and I'm starting to read one of them.
Yeah, I've got 3 really good recommendations for you.
Okay, I'm just starting the first one. So,
well, the first book, the most powerful book you can read if you want an introduction to logic, is Logic for Dummies.
Oh yeah, I have that.
It is the goddamn best book.
Well, no, I have the one for ethics. I have the one.
And then the second 2 are by a man named Pospisil, and he does. Basically, we use it in our logic course, and he is just he wrote 2 books, and they cover it all, and they do it really remarkably well, and you'll have a good background when you get through with it. For formal logic. But formal logic is really cool because it's absolutely crystalline true, right? You can have validity, right? And then when you start to go into informal logic, that's where you add bullshit.
Well, it's natural. Right? It's the study of the natural language of things. Yeah. And that's why it interested me. And it's like, there's no way to fix
Yeah, there's a field called rhetorical logic, which is what lawyers use, where you start to use language in different
right.
And then it's really difficult to turn a lot of rhetorical logical statements into propositional logic or logic. But it's a cool exercise to start doing it. But Pospisil, I think, does a really good job, or at least my logic teacher did, of explaining all sorts of different linguistic artifacts and how to convert them into mathematical logic, where you can really see what's going on.
This one's written by Stephen Gimbel, PhD. It's called An Introduction to Formal Logic. So
Stephen Gimbel. Okay, I don't think I have that one.
So that's what I'm. What?
How do you spell Gimbel?
Hold on. I'll copy pasta it.
I have 120 books on logic.
Where's it?
And I don't have that one. Maybe I have that.
You blew it totally, Mike. Gosh.
Yeah,
I might have that one. I haven't looked. I'd have to go look at all because I don't remember what the fuck I got. Gimbel.
Yeah. Introduction to Formal Logic.
Okay, intro to Formal Logic. Oh, I have to go buy that one.
I've got it if you want it. I mean, no. I mean, yeah. Buy it for real if you. I don't know how you get things for free.
I got a whole shelf up there.
Yeah, and then of course with infinity, they're perfectly happy that God's infinite, but it's like, well, why?
It's really weird when I do shrooms and I look up at my shelf of logic books. All my logic books, they all seem to be leaning more than the other books.
Yeah, soundness is what matters. Valid is easy. It's soundness that matters. Yeah,
soundness matters.
Soundness,
and that's what
that's the part. Well, he actually screwed up validness because this isn't even considered valid because it's a paradox. So it's done. Yeah. It's broken. It's dead. That's it.
Yep. Not even valid.
You killed it. You killed it with a hammer, and you made me misspell things when I copied the thing, and I don't know how I screwed up so badly, but it's live. I should have done this edited. Oh well, whatever.
Yep.
But it's full of fallacies. And of course, it breaks the law of logic, and you're done at that. It's silly, and it's all just to win. I mean, you could say, look, without the typical precept is that logic only works if God, exists, and so if you use logic, then God exists, so I win. That's nice.
That's where we get lobster. That's where we get lobsters and Bigfoots from.
Yeah, that's why I said. I said the lobsteress. I will beat your precept because the lobsteress actually has precept built into it already in the book, and it says in the book several times. If you read the book, then it's true. And so
Bigfoot told me you're wrong. So.
Yeah, exactly. Bigfoot told me in such a way that I can't be wrong that you're wrong.
I want to see Jay's argument for his rainbow-colored unicorn that shits gold bricks.
Well, premise one is, if it's possible that such a thing exists, then it would be maximally good for that thing to exist. Therefore, it must exist. Huh? Yeah. Teleological argument.
Yeah, there was some asshole on another channel complaining about how long I leave my comments up. I can't remember who that was.
Hey, you leave your comments up too. I'll be your asshole. Wait. What?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to name names.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't do that. Hey, click on this video. Don't ask questions.
But I kind of.
Why are we still looking at the argument? Get that out.
Okay.
My beard is better.
Okay, I must confess, I have not listened to the end of this video because because I get really sick of them by the time I get 4 minutes in.
Skip to the end. Skip to the end.
Let's listen to the last few minutes of the video.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
I've already heard it, but
we're in deep already.
On the pain.
Okay. You have very
bigoted effects of physics.
How can we believe anything other than which is strictly determined by the laws of physics? How can an effect of physics be false? Well, the atheist might say,
this is why.
Well, Some effects of physics can be true and some can be false. Okay, so if one effect of physics can be true or false, here's my challenge to the atheist who holds this position. What is the categorical difference between a tornado and thinking? Well, they might say, duh, a tornado isn't doing any evaluating. Well, let's try again. What is the difference between a tornado and evaluating? Well, like the difference is like complexity and stuff. Okay, let's look at the level of.
Actually, tornado is a really good analogy for thinking and for the brain. So he can go fuck himself.
Complexity.
A tornado's a noun.
What's that?
A tornado's a noun. Evaluating is a verb.
That's true. That's one categorical difference.
I mean, motherfucker, what are you talking about? You're driving me nuts here. I guess you could turn it into an evaluation, but an evaluation is just a set of statements.
Well, a tornado being a tornado. Let's see. If it is the case that, okay, wait a minute. Okay, Jay Patrick put his argument up. Hang on a second. Okay, stop the presses. If it is the case that I have a backyard, then there's a rainbow-colored unicorn that shits gold bricks in that backyard. I have a backyard, therefore I have... Oh, my goodness. Okay, Jay. I believe you.
Yeah,
All
pretty
hail.
good.
All hail Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It's valid. It's not sound.
Okay, I can't remember how I did it, but this idealist was talking to me a while, and I very artfully convinced him that he didn't know the difference between his ass and a hole in the ground. And it was just, I can't remember the whole process, but it was like, okay, so you don't know the difference between your ass and a hole in the ground.
Well, see,
shit from Chinola is an old term I love.
What disappoints me the most is that he didn't play the part of my video where I challenged him to eat a plate of shit, and then I decided no, that was too harsh. Instead, eat a plate of wasabi with like hot sauce and all this, and that will prove free will, because either way I win. If you do it, I get the amusement of you doing it. If you don't do it, then free will doesn't exist. I win, so it's great. So I love it. And it's, it's kind of like my other challenge that nobody's done, and I don't know why. It says, look, if you do this and you get a lot of money, you live for as long as you want, perfect health, whatever wishes you want will be granted. Basically, all you got to do is go outside in your underpants. They got to have hearts on them, nothing else on, just your underwear. Dance around, spin around counterclockwise, sing "I'm a Little Teapot," do a little dance, and film yourself, of course. Send me that video, and then all your wishes will be granted. Nobody's done it. Why not? What's there to lose? Why wouldn't you? This is a minor inconvenience, a minor embarrassment, And if I'm right, then you get all this stuff.
Cash up front.
Okay,
you get it after.
Maybe tighties with hearts on them, because I won't wear.
Yeah, as long as it has red hearts on them, of course.
Okay, I'm on it.
Yeah, okay. All right. When you send me that video, you'll get all your wishes, and I will regret ever issuing this challenge, I'm sure. I'll be like, I have a video of Speed and Sound dancing around in his underpants. Oh, my God.
The raccoons are cheering in the sidelines.
Later, Scott. Scott's going to go.
Stephen Gimbel. Okay, we're going to play the rest of this.
Yeah, this
It's a really complex machine and a very simple machine. Other than potentially more components executing a wider variety of functions, the complex and the simple are both at the effect of physical laws. And as far as we know, a computer doesn't do anything more than what it's programmed to do, regardless of its complexity. A computer doesn't suddenly transcend its category of being a machine simply because it's more complex. So why would the brain from this position? In conclusion, if all thoughts, evaluations, and propositions are merely effects of physical laws and chemistry, how can a physical effect be false or true? There are no false tornadoes or blades of grass. So why would the naturalistic atheists believe that there are false beliefs?
Okay, how can somebody... I have a question.
Wait, what?
How can anybody be this fucking blinkered? I mean, and
I got the calculator argument.
Okay.
Okay, so I tried to cover this when I did the live video, where it's like, look, you run away from the lion. It's true that the lion's chasing you. It's like, well, and he's like, well, couldn't it be that when we talked, it's like, well, couldn't false beliefs help survival? I'm like, yeah, That's what religion is, and we should be skeptical. You didn't like that? It's like, yeah, that's why we should be skeptics. We should just believe everything. But yeah, I mean, you find out very quickly what's real or not real. Whether you're programmed to run away from that line or not makes no difference.
Scott bailed again. I don't know.
He had to go. He said that.
To go. Okay, I gotta go soon too. So I gotta go do something productive. Like
if this video is longer than my video, I'm gonna be mad.
It's longer than your video.
No.
I think it's longer than your video. Let's say your video is
no, not that one. The other one. This is the short one. I'm talking about the one that I did where I made fun of him and yelled at him and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Oh God, and he is just so frustrating to talk to because he keeps coming. Well, what is truth and what is information?
Oh yeah. The whole define what you mean. Oh yeah, sure. Whenever he's losing, he'll do that.
How do you evaluate, or how do you compare one thing to another, or how do you decide, or all of these things that you pretty much learn when you're 3 years old?
My answer was the brain. And
yeah, that's what in the second video I did. Where I was just like, yeah, what do you mean by this word? What do you mean by this word? I'm like, yeah, I could do it too. And it's like, it's so convenient that you ask for definitions of words that you should know, and then you use words that without any definition.
Well, he kept changing the question on me.
Of course.
And knowing that I'm going to say the same thing, it's a product of the brain. And
yeah,
he did it like a half a dozen times, and then I said brain one more time. That's when I got kicked. But I didn't get screamed. No screaming gopher or nothing. I just I was done.
He put me in the background, so I started typing badly at him, and then he let me back in eventually. And
I just clicked off. I was like, eh.
Oh well.
But look, hope. But look, somebody somewhere will see the light of reason that we shine, because and you just don't know the truth.
And don't say that oh blah blah blah, you're gonna run away and hide on me, because I will come on.
Oh yeah. Look, I'm not. I mean, after I do the third video of him, I'm done. I'll move on and probably forget that I ever did anything with
it. Doesn't mean I'll do it again, but it's.
Yeah, I think at some point I'm going to go talk to him or try to talk to him.
I mean, it's an interesting, precept is in the end boring to me, but he's kind of an interesting phenomenon in a way, because he's got a lot of followers. It took time to build up that. Like I said, I think we need like a there's that charity for pastors, the Clergy Project. We need something like that, but for apologists, like that, so they could have an alternative to doing bad apologetic. Like, look, well, whatever you're paid now, we'll pay you the same to not do that. Like, do this instead. Do something useful. Because I mean, it'd be a huge risk for him financially to stop doing precept or stop acting angry or stop doing all the memes. It'd be a risk. It'd be a huge risk. Yeah, even if he retained God, he could lose tons of followers if he changed his format.
Well, Paul, like I said, he's playing to the crowd. It's the same thing with that guy that Nitty and Tux were talking to last week. Yeah, he just playing to his crowd. He's not trying to answer anything. He's not trying to convert anybody. Nothing. He just wants to say atheists are stupid so that his audience will say, yeah.
Yeah, so he's raised $986 so far for his Miami trip. I got some heart tests coming up, and maybe I should have a fundraiser for do
a GoFundMe.
Yeah, what the fuck?
They set up buy me a coffee. There's all kind of things you can do.
Yeah, I'll throw some money at answers.
Folks will help out. There's been a lot of folks that have done things for other people in the community, and
I was helped
them out, and it's really great.
Yeah.
Well, when my insurance kicks in and handles it all, but they charged me $400 for the monitor, just having a monitor.
If you can wait till next month to get money, I'll send you something. I don't have anything right now.
Checks in the mail.
I want to get out of
Well,
here, guys. I have like
all right. Well,
every one of my siblings has called me.
All right. Well, I got to say my thing that I said before, but I think it's worth saying here.
Okay.
We didn't have a sound argument. We didn't have any empirical evidence or repeatable tests. So therefore, we have to be skeptical of his conclusion.
Yes. Yeah. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. Just incoherent. P1's incoherent.
Yeah, I accused him of category leaping, and he said, "What does that mean?" It's like fucking
Get a fucking dictionary, you nitwit.
I mean, Jesus Christ, figure it out. You know, it isn't that much of a stretch to go from category leaping.
He always does that. He does it when he loses. He'll define that, justify that. It's like, I'm not playing this game.
But his calculator analogy he likes using too. I've heard it repeated a couple times now. So.
Yeah. So we're gonna get out of here, guys. We're gonna get out.
All right.
Okay.
Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Hey, thanks for everybody.
Wait. He said something.
Thanks.
People who have been arguing about God for 10K years, usually because their God tells them to be complete shits as people. Okay.
I wanted to thank everybody for stopping by over on my stream and joining in. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Good to see y'all.
For great comments, like if you start with the presumption you're not wearing your rectum as a neck warmer, you're probably what the fuck. Anyway,
you blew past 100 comments a while ago there, Mike. So a lot of people.
We got a lot of comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
This Bob guy is pretty damn popular. Yeah. You know, people love to hate him, so that's something.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, okay.
I don't know what that is. I got this quote lately from a podcast. I really like it. Hate the belief, love the believer.
Oh my god.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Everybody.
This is the part where we go and say,
Goodbye, cruel
Goodbye, everybody.